It is Super Draco 380, and we're back for Pack 5 of Build the Battleship Bismarck. Today we're doing Stage 45, starting to assemble the forward superstructure. So first thing we're going to be doing is installing a couple of rangefinders and a couple of searchlights. So we've got a sprue, some reel parts, another sprue. Got a couple of ladders. And I think those are like, I don't even know, I guess they're platforms. Alright, so first things first, on this sprue here, we have the two rangefinders. Don't mind the scratches on my arms. Chloe has not been very responsive to having her nails trimmed. So with the rangefinders, you want those little scopes pointing towards the front of the ship. So we're going to dab some glue on the bottom, and then they're going to go into the hole in that round section on the deck. There we go. Now I'm in the frame. Now the searchlight there is going to go into that rectangular slot right there. Alright, so we're going to apply some glue. And the signal lamp, I may have called it a searchlight earlier, but this is a signal lamp. I'm going to use my tweezers and try to get it in there. And I apologize, the camera's having a hard time focusing. Alright, and so we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So we're going to dump some glue for the rangefinder. And I apologize if you can hear my wife in the background talking to the dog. So then we're going to drop some glue for the signal lamp. And there we go. Next, we're going to, there's on the sprue is part number 3, and those will be the last parts on that sprue. These are loudspeakers, and those are going to plug into the upper mast deck 44-01 that we put the ammo thing on. The loudspeaker is going to go into that rectangular slot. And I'm doing a poor job on my camera work. I'm going to apologize. I'm out of practice after waiting for a month. But to make a long story short, the loudspeaker You want to be careful trimming them off because there's a whole support strut and stuff molded onto them, so you want to make sure you're cutting at the sprue and not cutting that off. Alright, so the glue goes in the hole. And I apologize, this is out of frame. So we're going to try again to get it in frame this time. Whoops. These are some tiny parts, so you'll forgive me if my giant hands are kind of blocking the view. Alright, so next we've got some railings, platforms, and ladders. So the first thing we're going to do is from the photoreal parts, we're going to break away parts 45-05 and 45-06, which are starboard and port railings respectively. And after we punch them out, we're going to bend them into shape. So I'm bringing in my duck nose pliers, or duck bill pliers, whatever you want to call them, and just using the flat edge of them to get a nice even bend. Some of the parts you can feel how they're bending and that they're bending the way you want them to. In this case, I didn't quite get that good enough of a feeling, so that's why I brought in the duck nose pliers. So we're gonna fold that and punch that out. And then we're going to bend it into shape and completely out of frame. And again, I'm going to apologize. So these railings are going to go on those platforms by the rangefinders we just installed. And so, the size of them's pretty obvious because they're only going to plug in at 2 points. So we're going to dump some glue in there. Whoops. And there we go. So then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to drop the glue. And there we go. Alright, so next we're going to be fixing the railing 45-07, and it's going to go around the triangular portion around the rangefinder. So these are a little tricky. And basically these are going to, there's a notch that these are going to slot into. So before I even attempt to glue, I did a test fit. And now that I think I have an idea where the part's going, then I'm going to drop some glue and we're going to fix it in place. Now, again, this one's out of frame, but this is because I needed a better view. And there we go. So then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And there we go. So next we're going to need parts 45-04. These are 2 platforms. So we're going to punch those out. And as you can see, to punch this one out, it's held in at 2 points, so I'm bending the whole piece to punch the one out, and then once that's out, then I can flex it along the other one and punch that one. Alright, and that's the photoreal parts empty. So we're going to bend those up to 90-degree angles along the notches. Now this one, I didn't like how it was bending, so I'm going to bring in the duck nose pliers. And just use the flat side of those as a point to bend that. And there's 2. And now obviously we can't do the third side, so we're just going to have to do that one the old-fashioned way. And there we go, and we're going to do that for both platforms. So these platforms are going to go underneath the rangefinders. So you see there's 4 holes. They're going to go on the 2 inner holes. Alright, and that's the first one installed. And then we'll bring it in. Platform will just go in those 2 holes. And there we go. So we can set that off to the side because we need this section again. And so these 2 ladders are going to go into those 2 holes right there. So we bring in the ladder. You want the arms that are empty, you want those at the top. So you want it fitted in like that. So we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're just going to bring in the ladder, plug it right in, and there we go. So next we're going to be doing some antenna outriggers, and we're actually going to assemble a portion of the superstructure. So what I'm doing is I'm just making sure these are nice and straight. So we're going to set that off to the side. So next we're going to do the antenna outriggers and the superstructure. So first thing we need is this large rigger that has the 3 prongs. So we're going to need 45-0, we're going to need the foretop gallery 38-02, and it's just going to fit into those 3 holes on the front. Alright, so next we need these 2 antenna outriggers, and one of these ends in a rectangular peg and the other ends in 2 circular pegs. So we're going to bring in the Admiral's Bridge, and we can see right there we've got 2 circular holes. So that's going to be, we're going to need the outrigger with the 2 circular pegs. So we're going to put glue in the holes. Alright, and then for the second outrigger, we're going to put glue in that slot, and it's just going to slot right in, easy as pie. And so for the final thing we're going to do is we're going to fit the Admiral's Bridge and the into the upper mast deck. So first thing I'm going to do is I want to check how things fit, so I'm going to go ahead and feed the cables through. Because we're going to apply some glue to the top of the upper mast deck, the oval section. So I want to see where it's plugging in, so where I want to put the glue. And in all honesty, trying to balance these pieces in each hand and then feed the wires through is quite difficult. It's one of those situations where I wish I had a third hand. And probably a fourth. And apologies, I think that was my wife yelling at the dog again. Well, not yelling's a strong word, but regardless. So then here they are fitted together after I've applied some glue to the upper mast deck. So then the only other thing you've got to do is make sure the upper arms of those ladders on the upper mast deck plug in where they're supposed to. Alright, and with that attached together, that'll wrap up that stage. So next we'll be doing stage 46, a hull panel.